Welcome to another episode of The Sage and the Seeker. Thanks for joining us here as each week we explore a new topic that will help us to personally evolve, that we can gain some spiritual insight and transform our lives. This is the place where we connect ancient wisdom and modern life. I'm Antonia Dax, and my co-host Sung and I are here to share and to question things and to laugh and to learn together. And we are inviting you, and we're so happy that you are joining us so that we can all see the world and ourselves in a whole new way. And I'm really excited today because I don't know what our topic is. Sung has been at an event for the past couple of days. And so she's bringing her insights about that to our podcast today. So what are we doing today, Tim?
Yeah, I'm very excited about the topic today. So the past few days, I have been in an event called Wisdom 2.0. It's a gathering of people from both the spiritual community and the tech community, and they try to bring a conversation together from the two worlds and try to see if we can combine the knowledge to build a better world for our future generations. But today, actually, it's funny. I want to talk a little bit more about my personal experience and use that opportunity to discuss maybe some of the challenges when we are in a social gathering and how to, you know, face those situations with grace.
Okay, wait. So you're saying you're social. So do you want to talk about your personal experience at
Yeah,
this event and what that was like?
yeah. Mhm.
Oh, cool. I love that. Okay.
So I'll talk about the first, I guess the first story of my day. So I went there 9 in the morning, and the meeting is already, starting, and we are trying to do a group meditation together. And then after the meditation, the host basically invited every one of us to connect with someone who you do not know, and then try to discuss and introduce yourself. And then, so I happen to be sitting like in the very middle of a row. And then within 2 seconds, everyone around me started chatting with the people who's next to them. And
Like everybody else partnered up.
exactly, I got left over
Okay.
that middle, and I can't move around because I'm stuck by above
Yeah.
people who are like passionately talking about whatever they're interested about. And I already feel a little bit awkward to start with because I don't typically go to this kind of events. For me, it's a new exciting thing that I'm exploring. So like at that very moment, I feel my awkwardness level just raised from like I don't know 10 to 100 in a few seconds, and literally there's no one I can talk to, and it's like a 10-minute conversation. So, Miss Tony,
Um,
I guess the question for you, how will you handle that situation?
oh my gosh. I have been in situations like that before. More than many times I think where it seems like you just can't seem to um connect. I've done different things, I guess, in the past when I have been in that situation.
Mhm.
What I would probably do today
Yeah.
is to insinuate myself into one of the other people's groups.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would do. I would, because if I go to an event like this, I want to get the most out of it, right? And so what are my options? I could sit there and do nothing for 10 minutes, which means I'm not participating and I'm not part of the whole thing, right? And I don't like that.
Yeah.
So I would probably like look at the people on either side of me and go, these people are these, not these people are the ones. And I would say, hi, I seem to have been left out. Can I be a third in your group? And that's probably what I would do because they're not going to say no. All
Yeah.
right. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, go on in.
Yeah, I feel this is actually this is a very, how can I say? this is a great opportunity for me to practice mindfulness. I just use
Um,
that opportunity to pivot into the mindfulness exercise because I like I said earlier, I started to feel the adrenaline rush, the awkwardness
yeah,
level just raised to
yeah.
100. And then I just try to watch it from a third person perspective. I was like,
Hmm.
wow, like I still feel so awkward in those situations. And then and why am I nervous? Why do I feel so awkward? So I try to, have a inner dialogue with myself and with all these observations that I have during that time. So I just try to, just deep breathe and try to calm myself down. At first,
Yeah.
it doesn't work. It doesn't work because you feel nervous, right? And that's like very physical. That's in your nervous system. And then I can hear myself talk negatively, like, okay, yeah, I know it's going
Uh-huh.
to happen. Like, this is not meant for my group of people. And,
Right. Like I don't belong here. The
exactly like
universe is trying to tell me something.
all those
Yeah.
crazy shit
Yeah.
start to show up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Um, and then I do realize it's easy for me to realize that I'm thinking at the moment of thinking. So basically, I feel there's almost like a supervising mind that's happening in the background. That's
Uh,
like, you know what?
nice. Yeah.
That's when you start to have those moments of self-doubt, self-deprecation, and lack of trust in yourself, right? And then I just let it be. And then I just let it be and be yourself and sit for a few minutes. And then it start to quiet down. And then I start to kind of reform the story within myself a little bit. And then I start to think, you know what? It is awkward, no doubt. But things happen. And this doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with me, or people make a judgment of me that's unfavorable. It just means that things happen, and it's just you can gracefully try it next time. And so time passed. I didn't do anything on the first run, and then I just managed to be myself and sit comfortably in the middle of the conference room by myself. And I think the awkwardness level probably lower down to 10 to 20 at the end my wife's background voice trying to calm myself down a little bit. And um and then I just trust that in the next time I will have that opportunity. So I would say throughout the event, there are maybe five, six other opportunities where you just need to talk to the person next to you. And I didn't miss a single one of them. And I even managed to build some connection and potentially it will be a client engagement in the future.
Hmm.
So
That's great.
I would love to have a few good story like the ones you have where you immediately transform an awkwardness to empowerment.
Well, yeah.
Just
And
give
you
me
know,
a few minutes together. But I managed.
yeah, I think that there's a couple things that I thought of when you were talking, and these kinds of moments are they're like jewels.
Mhm.
They're gems. They're treasures
Yeah.
because they are learning opportunities. And
Exactly.
we usually look at them as something negative, like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Right? Like the awkwardness you were talking about, and like your anxiety goes up and all that. And we look at that as a bad thing.
Mhm.
But I think the more you practice mindfulness, the more you can get into these observer states, right? That you start to see that these are beautiful opportunities
Mhm.
to learn about yourself and about your place and how you do things,
Mhm.
and and to make a choice,
Yeah. Yeah.
right, for yourself. And we talk about choosing all the time, and it really comes down to that. For like everything kind of comes back to that, making a choice for yourself. Um, because the the reason that I would get that kind of nerve thing going too at first, like, oh my God, I'm like the odd man out. I'm stuck.
Mhm.
Right. But for me, I would go to I don't want to be stuck.
Mhm.
I don't want to be nervous about this. This is an opportunity. What can I do? What do I want to do?
Yeah. Mhm.
Right now, you could choose to say, you know what, right now, I'm just going to sit and I'm going to just let it pass.
Mhm.
And that's then a valid choice.
Yeah.
Right. Or you could say, I need to learn how to be more social. Right. And you could say, so I am going to take a breath and go talk to these people.
Mhm.
Right. I have also been in situations where I might have, depending on the circumstances, right? Not maybe with the kind you were at, but where I would have actually stood up on my chair and looked around to see, is there another odd man out somewhere in this room? Right. And say,
Sure, there
hey,
is. Honestly, there is, but it's a big room, and I'm literally in the dead middle of things.
yeah,
Can't even move around. So
yeah. So like I say, depending on the circumstances, right? I'd be like looking for that other person because they're feeling really weird too. And maybe I can do something about that to help somebody else and help myself at the same time, right?
exactly.
So I think these are like beautiful opportunities when these things happen to take stock of ourselves and take stock of what we want and what we choose to do.
Exactly.
And, and then act on that choice, whatever it is.
Hmm.
And I do have to say one more thing about this, that I don't know if you know this. I have a theater background. My first major was in theater arts.
Hmm.
So, and that led into public speaking and so on. But the one of the things that is common to both being on stage, whether you're acting or speaking or whatever, is you get nervous. Like right before, it's like, I got this big thing to do, and all these people going to be there, and right, that stage fright,
Yeah.
and and you, you can really come to recognize that those feelings of stage fright, the physical manifestations of them, are the same ones of excitement. If
Hmm.
you take away the attitude of the what you choose to name that emotion, it feels exactly the same as excitement.
Hmm.
So you can make that switch. And this is a tool that professional speakers use as well, to make that switch from nerves to excitement, to
Hmm.
use the energy to help you rather than to let that energy control you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. So you can kind of change it for your benefit. So when you were talking about that, feeling anxious, anxiety levels are blowing up and all that, it's like, okay, this is an energy that I can use
Yeah. Hmm.
to help me. Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's another little angle about that whole thing. Yeah.
To our viewers, I'm curious if you have a story like that in a social settings where you have to make connections with people you don't know, and then if you have a story that's transforming awkwardness to empowerment, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. Awkwardness to empowerment. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think most people have a story like that.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'd love to see what people do, what they decided to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Very cool.
I would say, like I said, I think after that, I have in the other occasions, I have zero problem talking to people.
Mhm.
Eventually, I realize I used to think I'm more introvert than extrovert, but at the end of the day, I think I'm actually pretty extrovert. But maybe there are some, let's say, past traumas or unpleasant experience that make me feel like, okay, I don't feel very safe to talk to some kind of people. I
Mhm.
think I'm definitely working on that and it has been improving.
That's good.
You know?
That's interesting you say that because I just had a conversation about how past traumas, um, they get triggered, right? And we automatically react
Mhm.
rather than respond,
Yeah.
and how we need to learn how to pay attention to those things,
Mhm.
um, so we can choose better. It's
Yeah.
interesting you brought that up. Yeah.
I do want to bring up another perspective, which might be more unique to my circumstances, because obviously English is not my first language, and I'm immigrating in this country. And then my ethnic background is not the same as the majority of the people in the room. Even my age,
Hmm.
I would say my demographic is I'm definitely the minority of minority in that particular meeting. I
Okay.
think
Like how many people were there, would you estimate?
I would say 300 to 400 people in the
Oh,
room.
it's a big group.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is a big group. And
Yeah.
so I do feel I'm curious. What I know this might be a little bit of a sensitive topic, but I do feel there might be some level of maybe let's say challenges for people who are from the more minority group in that particular setting to cultivate a sense of belonging. Because I do think human brains are inherently biased in a way, due to our
Mm.
training, due to what we feel comfortable with who we feel comfortable with, and I do feel it kind of plays a role in that settings too. Um, so I had many situations where people just cannot pronounce my name, and because they don't know how to pronounce my name, they kind of just intentionally avoided talking to
Hmm.
um or even in a Zoom meeting, I always get called out if they do a popcorn style. I always get called out the last because people don't know how to possibly speak my name.
Right.
So I think so. Part of it, I think, obviously at first it is never a comfortable feeling. It's when you feel you have been a little bit left out in any group settings, or you're the last one to be brought up. Um, but I think eventually I just come to acceptance to some way that that's part of me, and,
Yeah.
and that's part of how
It's
the
part of your
society
karma.
is not necessarily
Mm.
karma, but how the
Yeah, well,
society
it
is
is.
also
It is part of your, yeah. It's
how
part
the
of your life here.
I think the things I want to discuss is more around if you are from a more underrepresented group, um,
Mm.
in a bigger group or community, what are some of the ways you can find your own empowerment and find your sense of belonging? What do you think?
I think that's a like a rabbit hole we could go down.
I think we are already on the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think what it comes back to for anyone and everyone is to have that confidence in yourself
Hmm.
that it doesn't matter,
Hmm.
that it's like a non-issue, that you don't see yourself as separate
Hmm.
or different from others.
Hmm.
I mean, I think ultimately that's the answer, right? We're all one. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter what color our skin or the shape of our face or whatever. In the end, we're all one.
Hmm.
And that to me is the ultimate answer. It's not terribly practical. I understand that. But but at heart, I think the more of us that can feel that way, the less of a concern it will be for people. Um, and if you can see yourself that way, at least, or at least to have the confidence in yourself that you're okay no matter where you are or who you're around,
Hmm.
then you're going to have the confidence to participate regardless of being in the minority,
I,
and here's the
I
thing that I
mean,
think of.
yeah. I think you're talking about an outcome that's ideal and the goal we should be aim after. But think about people who have been constantly marginalized or ignored in their community.
Mm,
How do they find that sense of safety and sense of belonging and sense of confidence? I think that's the hard part. And
It is.
I
Yeah.
have some, I guess I have some thoughts on this
Yeah.
topic.
Let's
Uh,
hear it.
yes, I think eventually it's like you said, it's about shifting your perspective. Do you want to see yourself as a victim of the circumstances, or do you want to see the best of yourself reflecting in all the other people? The more you see the best of yourself being reflected in other people around you, the more you will be able to generate that sense of resonance within a community or a group, and then the
Hmm.
more confident you will. So for example, let's say take this meeting for example. I think one of the reason why I feel I am able to kind of turn around my perspective fairly quickly is I go back to the value I hold and the reason why I show up there in the first place. I think the
Yeah.
reason why I show up is I deeply care about where we are, you know, as a society, and I deeply care about how technology and spirituality can improve our well-beings. And I see that passion, I see that same value in
And
every
other people
single
are.
one of the participants there.
Hmm.
So being able to reconnect to the purpose, why I show up there, why am I in that community, and then be able to see that people are there for a very common goal and purpose. It's a very reassuring feeling. It generates a
Hmm.
very reassuring feeling that you're safe, that you can see the best of yourself in other people, and that you do share commonality. You do share values together, even though maybe your background is different, where you are right now is different, maybe your social economic status is different. Everything
Yeah.
on the surface can be different, but underneath the surface, there's a core value that's dear to everyone who's participating in that meeting.
Hmm.
That particular trust and refrain of the story eventually helped me to make myself feel comfortable and feel belong and be
Hmm.
able to have more authentic conversation with other people, even though, we don't know each other to start with.
Yeah. But one of the reasons I love our dynamic is because you just kind of put into practice what I was saying.
Yeah. Hmm.
because because it's that oneness in all of us that's there. It's there. We just aren't used to looking for it.
Yeah.
And you just described how you look for it,
Hmm.
right? Here's a way that we look for that. We see that commonality.
Hmm.
If it's a shared interest,
Hmm.
a shared belief, a shared concern, whatever it is that you can find in people that same part of yourself,
Yeah.
right? It's there. If you look for it, you can find it. With some people, it's harder to find, granted, right? But
Yeah.
you were in a group of people who were coming together for a reason. It was a little easier to find there.
Hmm.
Um, but it's always there, So I think that was a great example. You look for it. If you look for it, you see it. And why do you feel then more comfortable? Because hey, we're all the same in this,
Yeah.
right? And there's a comfort and a security in that knowing
Yeah.
that we're all the same. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah, I like that. And if I could take that one step out, maybe look at a different perspective too, that from other people's viewpoints, that you might not see it yourself, that the fact that you are from a different culture probably looks to other people as a really cool thing because it's not just us that feels this way,
hmm. Yeah.
right? It's people from other parts of the world feel this way too.
Hmm.
And that extends what their belief beyond their four walls,
Yeah.
right? And oftentimes, I think when you're that one odd person out, you don't recognize that other people might be seeing you as a positive thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
You're assuming they might see you as a negative thing,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
That's that ties back to my story about my name, right? At the end of the day, I feel, my name being difficult to pronounce kind of adds to its charm. It really
Yeah.
about how you think about, this story and tell it to yourself. What story do you want to tell yourself? Do you
Hmm.
to, you know, own the beauty of your existence, or do you want to feel guilty or even ashamed or wounded by some of these distractions? It's a matter of choice.
Yeah.
Granted, in some situations, when let's say the repression is very strong, it's hard to make that choice. But I do think in most of the scenarios we have within our power to choose a more positive framing, um, to trust that you are valuable and you are contributing to, the greater good of our society. Mhm.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
ties back to some of the topics I heard during the meetings. The thing of the meeting actually for this time is disruption. I think it was inspired by a lot of the um, uneasy things going on in the world, especially in the political thing. And so I remember one of the talks is about actually looking at your shadow side. And the topic is around, we have been in this mindset of, okay, we are good, you are bad. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm more liberal. That's why, everything I said makes a lot more sense. So
Uh-huh.
we have been in that kind of binary way of thinking.
Hmm.
Then we fit into how can I say, a mode of just categorize people without consider the wholeness of them. Like we mentioned in our first episode about fixing, right?
Yeah.
Another type of
Yeah.
fixing is like,
It's
okay, I'm right,
division. It's
you're wrong,
us
so
and them.
there's no
Yeah.
way I can talk about it. So that particular conversation encouraged everyone to think about what's your shadow side.
Nice. Yeah,
Um,
it's nice.
like what are some of the things that you can look inside of yourself and start shifting instead of just thinking I'm right, you're wrong, I'm better, you're worse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I felt Miss Tony, I felt for some reason like I think we are actually kind of feeling the trend and the pulse of what's been going on in the society, and how people are suffering. And that's why we pick our topic about fixing. So I found that pretty amazing when I was hearing about this.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
Miss
It's a
Tony and
big
I,
thing today.
we are ahead of the curve.
Yeah. It's a big thing today, this divisiveness. It
Yeah.
really is, and I think that it's affecting everybody in ways that maybe they don't even realize. And it's easy to fall into, isn't it? It's easy to fall into that. Well, I know I'm right.
Hmm.
And so that makes them wrong. I don't like what they're saying, so they're bad.
Hmm.
And, but I mean, research has shown that if you get down to it and you ask people what really matters to them, what they really value,
Hmm.
right? It's like underlying all of that. It's the same thing, really. Everybody's looking for the same thing in the end. It's just how they're going about it is different. And that's what we're judging in others, right? Is how are they going about
Hmm.
achieving the goals? But like in Buddhism, there are many paths to the mountaintop, right? There's so many ways to get there. And why do we judge somebody else's way? Maybe it's not my way, but it's okay if it's theirs. Let them go. And I think it goes back to that self-confidence thing you were talking about too, right? If we don't have the self-confidence that I know myself, my real true self, I know what really matters to me, not what supposed to matter to me, but what really matters to me, right? If you have that, then you're not threatened by other people's paths, that other people are different than you. I think the more that we find our true selves, the less any of that matters,
Hmm.
right? It's like, well, go, maybe you'll find something I don't know, right?
I 100% agree. And it's also interesting that, well, actually, in the meeting, some of the greatest figures in mindfulness were like Jack Canfield, John Kabat-Zinn. They both gave several talks and
Mm,
meditations. And I just love how they touch like exactly the kind of topic that we discussed. For example,
yeah.
I remember John talked about how we should not take our identity or what we believe or our identity too seriously, because when you believe it too seriously and you associate yourself with those identity too much, you you stop to accepting new possibilities. You stop to
Mhm.
kind of see things in a more holistic way and then see your reflection in other people. Then it's all about me, me, me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, then the message is beautiful. It's inviting us to be more kind to other people, to, think about our commonality before we think about the friction. And
Mhm. Mhm.
form a community of support. I think the community of support is so important. And to be honest, Miss Tony, um I feel one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to this podcast idea is I want to share this message out. I really want to, let people hear about this and to provide as much support as we can to anyone who's experiencing
Yeah.
similar challenges. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
feel so full in my heart right now. Mhm.
That's great. I love it. Yeah. And I have been really contemplating this idea lately that is probably we could talk about in another podcast, but that relates to what you were saying about not taking ourselves too seriously. That we think that when we become, I don't know, 18 or 21 or some pick an age in there, that we're done, right? We're done growing.
Mhm.
We accept this growth in children and we like expect them to grow at a certain rate, right? They got to learn to walk and they got to learn to talk and they've got to learn to read and right and all that stuff. But somehow when we become 18 or 21 or 25 or whatever that is in your mind, then we're done, right? We've grown, we're mature, and that's it. But but I think that's a fallacy
Mhm.
because I think as humans we are never done.
Mhm.
We are meant to continue to grow and change and evolve,
Mhm.
just as a baby does,
Mhm.
right? And a baby doesn't know what's coming.
Mhm.
A baby doesn't know, hey, someday I'm going to learn how to read.
Mhm.
It doesn't know these things, right? But it does inherently, instinctively, it continues to evolve.
Mhm.
And I think we shut ourselves off when when we think we're just done
Yeah.
and we think we know who we are.
Mhm. Complacent.
And yeah, and that becomes complacent then, right? And it's like, well, this is me. And not just complacent, but we become like adamant about it. I know who I am,
Mhm.
right? And but you really don't because you've been basing who you think you are on your past experiences,
Mhm.
your or on what you've been conditioned to believe, or what other people say you are, or the roles that you take on. Well, I'm a mother,
Mhm.
or I'm a psychologist, or whatever it is, right? And I'm a Republican. Well, you start asking people why, and they sometimes can't tell you. Well, that's who I am. That's just who I am,
Mhm.
right?
Exactly.
Because they've never explored it. And if you stay open,
Mhm.
then you will continue to find new things about yourself. You will continue to find the truth about yourself and about the world and about other people. and you continue to evolve. And I really firmly believe that we are meant to be something much greater than we have been limiting ourselves to be.
You
Right?
brought up a perfect entry point to something I want to talk about next.
Nice, nice. All right, we're
And
in a flow.
yes, so this topic is around neuroplasticity. And
Okay.
I think the concept you are talking about is exactly about
It's part of it. Yeah.
always have that capacity to make your neural network to some degree very plastic. Then
Hmm.
you can receive new information, you can challenge your old beliefs and give room to new ways to think and feel to form their pattern. Then you are
Yeah.
not, becoming a prisoner of your own habits, of your own patterns, and everything can be changed and it can be, formed in new ways. And obviously, I don't know how much you're familiar with this topic. I know, in this field, a lot of people are talking about maybe use psychedelic medicine to
Hmm.
have that new neural
To
pathway.
open up those
Yeah,
pathways and
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I went to a dinner with a group of psychologists and people who are very passionate about, using psychedelic to form new pathways and to
yeah.
heal old trauma. And obviously, there are other exercise that we can do. So I'm wondering what you think about this concept and what are some of your practice of being
Yeah, that's another
so
big topic
plastic.
too. Yeah. You know what I can say is that I have found that since I started my journey, it was like vital to stay open and to just say, I don't know.
Mhm,
I don't know what's going to come.
mhm,
And I'm okay with that,
mhm.
right? Because as soon as you do that, your brain starts to function differently.
Yeah. Hmm.
We're not taught to do this though. But if you think back when you were a little child, that's how you lived your life. You didn't know what was going to come. You weren't planning anything. Somebody said, get in the car, you got in the car, right?
Yeah.
Where are we going? Right. Well, we're going to listen to some music. Oh, okay. You don't know. Maybe they take you to go see the symphony orchestra or something, right? And all of a sudden, what is this? Right? Here's this incredible experience. The child never could have imagined that, right? Being in a beautiful hall or the incredible vibrations of the music. They couldn't have ever imagined this even existed. So they didn't know. If and you lived your life that way as a child, right? And it was all about exploration.
Mhm.
And once you get back into that mindset, at least a little bit even, right? To say, I don't know what's going to come because we don't, no matter how much we plan or, right, try to execute towards a goal, we don't know. And if we just stay in that open mindset, I have found, I can only speak for myself on this, but that the brain starts to function differently.
Yeah.
And that it starts to um, find itself. I don't know what's a better way to say this, but I went through phases. Like at one point where my brain was like, it was just so constant, intense, trying to make things work. And I kept showing it, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this. You can retrain your brain. And at one point it went, oh, wait, oh, and it got it. And it was like this huge calm came over my mental functions. And it was like, I can do other stuff now
Hmm.
that I'm not caught up in all the stress and the planning and the analyzing and the
Yeah.
right
Hmm.
modern day life, that I can do other things now. And it starts doing other things. You're like, oh,
Hmm.
didn't know I could do that. And so, yeah, I definitely have personally experienced it. There's been a lot of research done
Yeah.
as well in this area, which they probably did they cover any of this at that um, symposium you were at?
About
Like
the research.
brain research with the
Yeah, there are I think there are some professors that's being invited to the conversation. They talk about exactly the topic I was mentioning, how to
Mhm.
kind of use psychedelic medicine to
Yeah,
help
yeah.
people to heal past trauma and also to cultivate more mindfulness. And it's interesting, actually, they talked about how mindfulness can enhance the experience of psychedelic journey.
Oh, sure.
On the other hand,
Yeah.
also the psychedelic journey can then also enhance your mindfulness practice.
Mindfulness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I found that truly amazing concept.
yeah. I think the psychedelics sort of get you out of your way, get you out of your own way.
Yeah. Hmm.
We're so caught up in our own minds all the time,
Yeah.
trying to think about everything and
Mhm.
not in control of our minds.
Yeah,
And and it gets in the way of what is really going on. And the psychedelics, I think, help it just get out of the way.
yeah, it's they use the word ego dissolution. It's the technical term.
What is it?
Ego dissolution. Mhm.
Ego dissolution. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
But I do want to bring up like some of those researchers mentioned in the meeting. They did mention it's not for everyone, and they're making a lot of effort to kind of started to normalize maybe using some of these medicines in clinical settings, so
Hmm.
that people who are participating in such healing events are guided by, medical
Yeah.
professionals. And
Yeah. I think it's important that you're not just experimenting wildly without the right understanding or support.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
I mean, the original idea of getting high,
Mhm.
right, was not about being stoned,
Mhm.
about feeling, you know,
Yeah.
good or what. Getting high is getting to a higher consciousness. That's where that word came from, right? It's reaching a higher consciousness. That
Yeah.
was the intent of these drugs in the first place
Mhm. Mhm.
before they became popular, like recreational,
Yeah.
you know,
And
things.
also, I feel um, I think we are in a very exciting time when some of the, I guess, more mainstream research has been looking into such topics. And
Hmm.
I I think in the old days, like it's more experienced in either in a spiritual setting or in some settings where you're just freestyling, you just do whatever you want without much guidance and understanding where is the boundary, where is the limit. I truly hope, like with this new research, trends, being brought up, we can normalize using some of this in clinical
Hmm.
settings where people can have a more
Yeah.
guided, safe
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Especially because a lot of these chemicals and these the natural drugs and all, they're still illegal.
Hmm.
And there's if you're trying to experiment on your own, you've got to deal with that too. Right. And even just from the mental mindset that I'm doing something illegal and maybe I'm going to get in trouble or whatever, you're in the wrong place
Yeah.
for any kind of an enlightened experience, right? So but there's just so many levels to it that I think people really do need to be educated
Hmm.
at the very least,
Hmm.
and make good decisions and know what to do
Hmm.
to have to experiment with these things.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Yeah,
Yeah. A lot of good topics, and
yeah.
we're almost at time, and then we still haven't, cover all what I want to cover yet. Yeah, one thing I also want to bring up is how, I guess, how AI can enhance or disrupt some of the, things that we are experiencing today. And I
What do
think,
you mean? I was wondering if I knew they must have brought an AI into this somehow.
yeah,
Okay, how can AI disrupt our personal growth?
yeah,
It's even a better answer. Yeah.
of course it's going to enhance it, right? No. It
Well,
depends.
you're the techie. You would say that.
So It's funny you mentioned this because based on a lot of the conversations I got involved in, it seems that the consensus is that AI will help us to actually do a lot of the more logical, analytical work. And the
Okay.
consensus is, people like me who do data work will be out of work very soon. But if you keep your, I would say, right side of your brain, your creative part of the brain, active and open, you will always be able to adapt, always be able
Mhm.
to create and be innovative. And that's the part I don't think any AI can replace anytime soon. So it's funny when people talk about this and like my kind of job will be replaced. Actually, I don't feel sad at all. I part of me feels
Okay, that's
I'm
good.
embracing this change. I am just transforming myself to a more left brain person, to a more right brain person. But to be honest, I'm always intuitive to start with, so it's
Yeah,
not a challenge
yeah,
for me.
yeah.
Um, but I do feel going back to the neuroplasticity, how you see yourself in this world fixing, it actually all ties together nicely because think about it. We're in a time of change. Everything will change.
Mhm.
Um, if you hold on too tight to your old identity, old ways of thinking, old comfort, old habit, you will start to lose touch of what's going on. Um,
Quick, very quickly.
exactly. And
Yeah, yeah,
I cannot predict what will happen to me or my profession
yeah.
or the logical way of thinking's place in the world. I but I would say this. I trust myself having the kind of adaptability to handle any kind of uncertainty or unexpected event or turns of events in the future because I trust that innate ability in myself. I trust that connection I can build with other people, and I trust that creativity I have. I think having that trust and in my brain's ability to adapt, always adapt, really, makes the difference. Mhm.
So do you think that AI will actually then, just because of its existence,
Mhm.
will actually sort of cause people to rely more on their innate abilities to adapt and start to focus more on their creative side and their innovative side
Yeah.
and to look beyond maybe this more scientific viewpoint that we've been living under for so long, that maybe it's going to push people more to focus on the other end since AI is going to take care of
Mhm.
all the logical stuff.
I I guess let me rephrase. I think science is an umbrella term. It's not about logic. I think the most innovative scientific way of thinking or doing things are innovative and
Innovative.
creative by definition.
Sure. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
people like
You're right.
Einstein, they talked many times about how intuition helped them to form
Mm,
some of the most innovative.
yes. Edison too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't say science equals logical
Okay.
thinking, and there's no
I
place.
stand corrected. Yes.
So, but yes, I think I see, and I would say many speakers in that conference think similarly in that I see AI being a great opportunity to um revolutionize the way we think about things, we connect with people, and we do things. And I think instead of thinking it as a threat to our current identity, I always think about it as a potential tool to enhance our, ability to do something else. Um, a quick example, so these days I'm working while I'm doing coaching work. And I do many things on my own. I would say without the AI's help, I wouldn't, be able to build a lot of the
Mhm.
infrastructure I set up, like just by myself. So I see that as a huge opportunity. That's just one example. Um,
Yeah,
and it will free myself from some of the more, I guess, tedious work that I have to do.
yeah.
I mean, they still exist today, and I wish AI can be faster. For example, maybe helping me to do my
It's
text.
coming, right? It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming, but
There's a flip side to that I would like to mention though, as cautionary, because my experience with AI, it has been great for the
Mhm,
doing things that, finding ways to say things or figuring out the right order, organizing.
mhm,
Yet,
mhm,
um, it understands the concepts, but it doesn't always put them together
mhm.
in a way that has any life to it, if that makes any sense. Like I don't trust it,
Mm,
right? It's like it's good.
mhm.
Sometimes it's like great, but you go, but you know what? It's not right. There's something wrong off here.
Absolutely.
And because it's not a human, right? It's just algorithms.
Mhm,
And I um have had several instances where people have told me, and some research I've seen recently, that young people particularly are turning to AI to find personal guidance and help.
Yeah.
That psychiatrists and psychologists are expecting that counseling and therapy will be done by AI soon.
Mhm.
And this concerns me because if young people are going, well, I'm really depressed and maybe I'm suicidal, let's say, right? And what do I do? And they're going to like chat GPT, check on it or Google it, you know, they're not going to get the kind of truly personalized attention that a human can give.
But think about it, Miss Donnie. I think we live in a society where a lot of people need mental health help than the current therapists or psychologists can offer because
Hmm.
we just don't have that many of them and they're already at capacity.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
would rather,
And a lot of people can't afford it.
yeah, I would rather think of AI, potential AI too, as like a first pass and like it's like a primary doctor.
Yeah. 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 I agree. But
And the
but
first
I
pass.
don't know that other people will see it that way.
And also, I would say, based on what I hear in this conference, they absolutely are working on this idea, but I think they're building a model that's more, let's call it medical grade. So
Yeah.
it's not a typical, GPTs that
Yeah.
we can use
Yeah.
right now, but they will, I think, instead of thinking about it as a um obstacle, I would think about it as an opportunity for
Yeah. I see there's
scientists to
potential.
improve the
There's
model.
potential.
Yeah,
But
and
I just don't, I just wanted to say that because I don't want people, if you're watching this, I don't want you to go, oh, I can go to ChatGPT and get all the answers, because you can't. AI just, it gives you what it thinks you want to hear. There's
that's
some
exactly
therapists, some therapists do that too, right? But
that,
it's not
that's exactly
necessarily,
why I emphasize AI is a tool. The
yeah, it's a
decision
tool.
power is in you. You decide, hey, this is sus or this is legit. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
I think in any circumstances, we should never lose that ability to make sound decision. And
yeah,
that's not something that AI or any kind of tool
yeah,
can take away.
yeah. We should never give up our own decision making to anyone, and especially not to AI.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm overall
Great.
very hopeful. I think the degree of the success of AI depends on everyone's participation and and I think as a society we can focus on the things that matters. For example, loving each other, connect
Mm.
with another soul, and being creative. I really look forward to that future where we
We
spend
can
more.
spend more time doing that and focus on that instead of yeah, I love that. I love that idea. And that's, you know what, I think that's maybe a great place to stop, unless you've got something else you wanted to
Yeah, I think
add.
perfect place to stop. And at the end of the day, I'm hopeful about our future. I think there might be some temporary disruption or suffering, but I'm hopeful because I trust that every single one of us have that ability to love, to
Yeah,
connect, to
yeah, yeah.
choose, and to participate in the change of the world in a positive way. I truly
Mhm.
believe that capacity.
Nice. I love that. I love that. And I would add to that that we have the innate ability to continue to grow and learn and evolve,
Yeah.
and that perhaps this rapidly changing world that we live in and the technology that helps us to bring that change is going to be a catalyst
Hmm.
that we will find that we are um, more than we think we are, that we are adaptable, that we are
Hmm.
always evolving,
Hmm.
and that, you know, that hopefully the technology will help us to create a better world
Hmm.
um, as we make the decisions to move through the rapid changes that are happening and are yet to come.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. All right, so we looked at a lot of different things about technology today, and really interesting combinations of ideas. I love it. So thanks for joining us on this episode of The Sage and the Seeker. If anything in today's conversation was interesting to you, please give us a like
Hmm.
and leave a comment below. We'd love to know what you think. If you have any opinions on this or experiences with any of these topics, put it in the chat and the comments, and we will definitely read them and comment if we can. Share your insights, or you can always put a question in the comments as well. And if you have some ideas for topics you would like to hear us discuss, we'd love to hear that too.
Hmm.
Don't forget to subscribe and keep walking this path with us. We're uploading new conversations every week. And if you have an interest in privately discussing anything with either one of us, there are links below in the description and in the comment section on how you can reach us as well. So remember that the answers aren't out there, they're within, and every step you take matters.
Hmm.
So until next time, be the sage,
Be the
be the
seeker.
seeker, and be transformed. Bye.
Bye.